in looking at the video that you came back with and have posted at the Jewish United Fund website, www.juf.org, and we've seen elsewhere, I'm struck by a couple things. One is the devastation that one sees on the ground, and we can look at a little bit of that video right now.
We are in one of the main downtown streets, and I wanted you to see life. This is life.
What was this like before the earthquake?
This is the Fifth Avenue.
No matter how much you read or thought you knew about the devastation that happened, seeing it this way, and we're still only seeing a small part of the impact on the country. It's mind-boggling. Interestingly enough, we were also told that as hard as it is to imagine and living in these conditions, that some of the people actually have housing, but they're afraid to go back to it because of the experience of the earthquake, and are preferring. Some are actually preferring to stay in situations like this.
The sheer trauma of going back into a building and the fear of getting killed.
That was very sobering to see. What strikes me is the enormous task that remains ahead. And one can imagine feeling hopelessness. And gee, there's so much to be done. How does doing a little bit help? But at the same token, we have these wonderful photographs that you brought back of Haitian school children. What's your sense of the meaning of small steps in the context of this magnitude of destruction and dislocation?
Well, certainly the steps that are needed long-term are indeed massive, and you're absolutely right. But over the next several years, the impact that we're having on the lives, frankly, which is interesting, not just a couple individuals, but if you think about it, with the hundreds of kids that are going to school, we're not only having the opportunity to help those children, we're helping the families, the parents, giving them all an opportunity to start to get their lives back together. The small steps, while maybe not as impactful perhaps as the larger steps will be in the long term, are so important. And again, I think that was one of the takeaways that both Steve and I had, which was we knew full well when we went down there, we were not going to be changing Haiti in the way that we would if we could snap our fingers. On the other hand, we were delighted to see that we really were making a difference. And again, I think that's one of the beauties of kind of Jewish values, is knowing that even if we can't tackle the whole problem, as long as we continue to move the process forward, we're really doing something very, very positive.
Another powerful anecdote is of meeting Haitians who had lost many members of their family, maybe were dealing with injuries themselves, and most certainly were dealing with the trauma of the situation, who had undergone some trauma relief training and were learning to actually help others deal with the trauma. Could you tell me a little bit about that experience of meeting some of those folks?
We did at one of the projects called Heart to Heart, which is really the wonderful physicians from the United States who on a weekly basis relieve one another, and we provided some dollars to help support that program. But this concept, the notion of trauma counseling and being conveyed by individuals who actually experienced it, which again makes sense, because how could you communicate with someone unless you've had the same experience? It was very powerful, and we did talk to some of those new counselors, and you saw hope in their eyes. You also saw, I thought, both in those conversations on the street, determination of the people and a sense of dignity. I remember when we were in one of the 10 cities, they told us there were about 45,000, and you have families of 6, 7, 8 in a 6-by-6 tent without running water and all the rest. And again, for us coming from Chicago, it's like, we've never seen anything quite like that. Yet that image, I remember of the woman with the broom, you know, moving around the dirt outside the flap to her little tent. I thought was very symbolic in terms of there's still a sense of dignity, of how they're going to go about their business, a determination of rebuilding the country and helping their families and loved ones and their neighbors to live again.
Mm-hmm. And Haiti has never been known as a functional kind of a place. I mean, the problems of Haiti are known and they're endemic. And now they're literally starting from zero and from nothing. Steve, what was your sense of, you know, what those first steps are going to be to bring that country back to some semblance of what people could call normal? And did you see any evidence of that in the people?
Yeah, again, neither David or I, you know, we're two-day wonders in terms of our expertise in Haiti, but one was struck by the need for education. And we were very pleased, I think, to see how our dollars were used in many ways to make these kind of makeshift schoolrooms with teachers and boards and children learning.
The concept that actually was initiated by the Israeli ambassador to that region was the idea of a youth village that was a joint village that would be Israeli-Haitian or Haitian-Israeli youth village that will provide everything from education, vocational training, almost community center type. And when we talk community centers, they're very different than the community centers here, but great opportunities for outlets. In partnership with the Haitian people, the Haitian government, and then also the Israeli government will be providing funds for this as well. In addition, there's an opportunity for there to be a long-lasting partnership in terms of volunteerism from both the Jewish community here and from Israelis abroad to help in the vocational area, agricultural training, et cetera. So the idea would be literally you'd have a Haitian flag and an Israeli flag at this village as an ongoing program of friendship.
It's really interesting because you know, what you're pinpointing are these areas of expertise that have grown out of Jewish communal experience over the course of many centuries, and certainly within the last century, the creation of the State of Israel. Many of our viewers may not recall this history, but Israel is a nation very much of refugees and survivors. And I know that Israel has had experience of creating youth villages for Jewish refugees from North Africa,
Absolutely.
from Europe, and elsewhere.
And one of the other obvious parts is everybody acknowledged Israel's dealt with so much tragedy over the years in terms of many crises that sadly they're very experienced in how to deal with these situations. And with that, they bring so many skills to the table as well.
It's one of the lessons of this is having the system in place. I guess that's a powerful lesson that's maybe very easy to forget when there's kind of the cause of the month or philanthropy is kind of a fad, that when you face a crisis or even to provide ongoing needs, if you don't have a well-oiled machine ready to do it, you don't do it. So what does it take to maintain that kind of well-oiled machinery, if you will?
Well, again, I think it's the history. I think that there are some frayed points in terms of our own Jewish enterprise. I make the point. I remember a couple years ago when Russia invaded Georgia. Within a day, both the Jewish Agency for Israel and JDC, they knew where every Jew was, which ones needed shelter, who needed food, who needed to be moved, who was in need of medical attention. Again, that's the system that's in place. That's a very important and powerful thing, and especially during a period of economic difficulty, God forbid that we should forget our responsibilities go beyond our local community and that we're part of something larger, because that infrastructure that's been built in such a wonderful, beautiful way over these years, if we don't fully support it, it could be gone and lost, and that would be a terrible loss for the world and for the Jewish people. So we're reminded of that all the time, and frankly, I think in Chicago we're very fortunate the community understands that and supports that as well.
Mm-hmm. David, what is it about the Chicago community, certainly the Jewish community, but even more broadly, Chicago is known as a very solid, philanthropic, giving community, and our Jewish community is exemplary of that. What is it about this local population that makes it so, do you think?
Well, one thing that comes to mind is just the sheer Midwestern values that flow into our Jewish community. We have a long, stable Jewish community, and there's a really interesting balance in our community with people who, from generation to generation to generation, have been involved in our Jewish community from its inception, to many new people coming into our community who feel that, wow, this is the place to be. But I really like to speak first person. I have the opportunity to be involved in a lot of charitable, not-for-profit endeavors. And it's funny, as I've gotten older, I've gotten to the point where I only want to be involved with a charitable organization that, in my opinion, is very productive and very impactful and very trustworthy. And really, I think that's a big part about why the Jewish community is so successful here, is in large part because we have a really well-run Jewish federation. And I look at friends of mine who live in other cities who don't maybe have the same experience as I do, and I think it's in large part because their federation system may not be as impactful as ours is. So I think it's a combination of values, the population base we have, and the fact that we have a really well-run Jewish federation.
Mm-hmm. Let's get back for a minute to the Jewish Federation Earthquake Relief Fund. That fund is still accepting contributions from the community, I understand. And
yes, again, we're not in an aggressive mode for it. We do have a project that we think with other communities is worth supporting, and people with special interests. So certainly, we're happy to take their dollars and use it towards this purpose. But we tried very hard in the beginning weeks. Our committee on allocation met really almost every 3-4 days. We wanted to push out as much of that money that came in as quickly as possible, and that was during the emergency phase. And now we're in the long-range rehabilitation phase, and we don't have that much, very little money left, but additional dollars would be used for this purpose.
Mm-hmm. Is there anything else that you think people should know and have a takeaway from your experience of actually having been on the ground? Any other anecdotes that come to mind from that brief experience?
I guess it's just that overall Jewish perspective. Again, two fellows from Chicago, didn't know very much about Haiti, read a little bit before we went, knew the reports from the distribution of dollars, and then when you're provided an opportunity to do good, it's an obligation that you have to take seriously. I think we were both touched a little bit by the Haiti bug in terms of it wasn't enough just to go. And in fact, I know both of us look forward, we're going to go back. Mm-hmm. And we do feel this need, which actually through this particular sanctuary show gives us an opportunity to share our observations with others and maybe inflict that bug into others, and be it Haiti or wherever. There is lots of things in the world that require our attention, and reminding people is something that we're pleased to do.
Thanks so much, David and Steve, for that very interesting discussion about the situation in Haiti. Don't forget, you can get daily updates about what's going on in the Chicago Jewish community and in Israel at the Jewish United Fund website, www.juf.org. We encourage you to write to us with any comments or suggestions. Write to 30 South Wells Street, room 5056, Chicago, Illinois, 60606. Thanks for joining us. We hope you have a wonderful summer. We'll see you in August. Shalom.